Welcome, Gemini, to your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. From May the 18th through to June the 28th, 41 days, Mars, the planet of action and passion, is moving through the Earth sign of Taurus. We can talk about Mars in Taurus generally, but for you, it's in the complex 12th house. I'm going to share on screen the event chart of the exact moment that Mars arrives. All the other planetary influences are going to provide an input into the backdrop of energy for those upcoming 6 weeks. And by the end of the forecast, you'll have a clear understanding of what's in store in terms of your energy, your work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So Mars has moved into the Earth sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And because Mars can be about desire, there is a link, because Mars in the 12th house can point towards a connection or an attraction to someone in a confidential or even clandestine way. But equally, with Mars in the 12th house, we might start thinking about someone from our past. But in a purely energetic way, what Mars in the 12th house can do, because Mars can be about anger and the 12th house can be about our psyche, it can stir up sediment from past events where we were hurt, disappointed, what people past, and those are still reverberating around deep within us, and Mars can trigger them. So over the next 6 weeks, there may be times when your mood could be a little up and down. You can become much more aware of who might not be for you, but equally, you can find yourself very emotional at times too. Now, let's just briefly revisit Mars's journey through the previous sign of Aries, because it rules that sign, and Mars is about identity. So Mars in the 12th house is asking you in a way to think about your value as far as your emotional being. And that can be a quite tender area for Gemini people, because you're an air sign and also so mercurial, so quick-witted. At times, you can use your intellect to fence off those anxieties or concerns that we all have. Mars is going to ask you to face them front on over this period of time. But his journey through Aries, which began on April the 9th, also saw him immediately connect with Neptune. There may have been some confusion about a long-term plan or a friendship. Then it came into a crunching conjunction with Saturn, the first in Aries for 28 years, a really seminal moment. And that may have given you a little bit of a crossroads. Do you continue on the same path? Do you change direction? And then Mars is just emerging from a conjunction with Chiron, the so-called wounded healer. So if there is some delicacy around certain friendships or group dynamics, you could still be feeling that. And there may be something that does need to be confronted. And Mars, of course, is about that. But the 12th house is complex, because the other part of it, frankly, Gemini, is that over the next 6 weeks, if there are people who don't have your back, they could be revealed, but particularly through the last 10 days of May. So let's just widen the lens for the other influences. And the joyous thing is that Mercury, your ruler, is at home in your sign. So it's in residency, and it's in a marvelous conjunction with Uranus. Uranus with you for the next 7 years is going to bring a thrilling dimension to that part of your nature that can be so sharp when it comes to communications. But this duo are linking back to Pluto, the planet of transformation, in the part of your chart to do with higher truths, to do with international affairs, but also to do with contracts and legalities. But you also have on this event chart the moon in your sign, and it's in a gorgeous conjunction to Venus. That's really delightful. So these four players, and they're going to be joined by the sun on the 21st of May is very much about you having the confidence to be very individual. So what we have is a contrast, even a paradox, with this more psychological turbulence that Mars can rake up. But the great news is Mars is actually in a lovely link with Venus. And I can also tell you that as far as your financial situation is concerned, you're going to see a potential uplift that really will show itself very strongly all through June. Truly exciting for you. So on this event, Venus and Mars are in a sextile. It's just that Venus moves on the following day to this, the 18th of May, on the 19th into Cancer, where it's very much to do with nurture, but Venus is about money, not just about relationships, and links back to Pluto. So something you do behind the scenes, it may be that you work in an organization, like a big institution, like a hospital, a prison, a governmental department, or it may be that something you're doing on an individual basis that shows your brilliance when it comes to research. Because remember, Mars can be very desirous of improvements around finance. And Venus moving into your second house can trigger that. So that's an extremely strong link between Venus and Mars, and one to really savor. And the combination between Mercury and Uranus and Pluto is encouraging you to be visionary and have the confidence to do things that are fresh and different. Also, Mercury forges a lovely link to Neptune. So whilst there may be some people you're not sure of, there are going to be others who are very firmly in your corner. But let's also look at the role of Jupiter. Jupiter is not forging a direct angle to another planet. It's rather broad from the sun just being in Taurus, but what it is in that second house. So once it's joined by Venus on Tuesday the 19th, that's why your financial prospects can strengthen, because they come together in a very extremely rare alliance on the 9th of June. So that's really something to look forwards to. But what we do have is the energy of Mars in this 12th house coming into a direct clash with Pluto on the 26th of May. And in fact, if you pencil into a note right through the last 10 days of this month, that's when there's the maximum potential for someone who doesn't have your back could reveal their cards. And it could be to do with a contractual matter, because Mars in the 12th house is potentially about secret enemies. If we're thinking about traditional astrology, Pluto in the 9th house can be the rule of law. So if there's anything around taxation, which Mars and Pluto in their dual rulership of Scorpio can be about, that may come into the fore, it may need handling. And if you do experience some kind of opposition, you may find that your emotions are very amplified, because unusually for you, you may find yourself just feeling a little bit vulnerable. And although Mars can be about force and assertion, in the 12th house, it can be more about a reflex reaction. So it can be more reactive. So just be aware that someone could get under your skin in rather a big way through the last 10 days of May. However, if we fast forwards through to the last week of June, Mars has moved forwards. It's getting towards the exit point of the sign of Taurus, but Jupiter is getting towards the exit point of Cancer. And if we go back to when Jupiter moved into Cancer last year, June the 9th, it immediately was conflicted with Saturn. Although it's in its exaltation in Cancer, even if you had hoped that your finances would improve, and they may have done, Saturn would have been in the mix along the way. Maybe it is that you may have gained some wins, but maybe not always some friends. And the great thing about from now through to the end of June is that you can actually have a lot more wins. notably in the first 10 days of June, but particularly in the last week. So if you had been hoping for financial fortune earlier in Jupiter's journey through Cancer, because it's your second solar house, be assured it is coming, but it's just coming really late. But as ever with Jupiter, we can't be passive, we have to be proactive. So whatever you've been doing can bring its reward. And the reward doesn't have to be financial, it can be in terms of your value, your self-worth. And it may be to do with something philosophical, publishing, it may even be to do with healing, all very strong themes with Jupiter in Cancer. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Gemini. But just to say, I've slashed the price on my personal horoscope reports. You can now get 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are playing out in our life, become more intimately aware of them, and that can guide our progress better future forwards. 3, your 12 months transit forecast, and also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Now, as long as your North Node is not late in your natal chart in Pisces or early in Aries, your draconic chart can look very different to your natal chart. Draconic is the soul karmic roots of who we are as we come into this life, whereas the natal chart is the fruit of the tree as we work with the nativity through our life. But for some people, the draconic chart seems to reflect their personalities more than natal. So the 12 months transits and the draconic chart are free, and please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, that's on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Uranus 78-year solar return Kazemi video, that's on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it would be an absolute pleasure. I work with people the world over. And if you have yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please sign up for that below and get your early day celestial pit stop. Now, to summarize, at the very top of this chart, Gemini, is the North Node, the point of destiny. And that's intriguing. It's in the sign of Pisces. But you can see it is in a T-square with the South Node and your ruler Mercury. So this is suggesting, along with Uranus, that this could be a time of fresh beginnings for you. But I think in a karmic sense, Mars moving into that 12th house really asks you over the next 6 weeks to look deeply into any past event which may still be having quite an impact, even if it's not terribly obvious. You know, sometimes we can be very, at the moment of grief or at the moment of separation or loss or an accident, sometimes we can't, our bodies, our minds, our psychology just can't process all of it at once. So there could be some unprocessed raw energy and anger, frankly, that may still be outstanding. This next 6 week window is an opportunity to look at it. So from an energetic viewpoint, your energy can be potentially strong, but I think it needs to be directed towards the inner part of your being. So if you find yourself being irritable or frustrated or angry with other people, try to understand the roots of that within yourself. As far as your financial situation is concerned, I really do feel this next 6 weeks can be terrific for you. But there may be a little bit of a tussle come in, remember, at the end of May, but it may be around a point of principle as much as a financial matter. As far as your long-term professional situation is concerned, I think if you're someone who is able to interact, as you often are, very skillfully and adaptively, but also collaboratively with other people, you're set fair. Romantically, well, Mars in that wonderful sextile to Venus is central. Venus in the second house is very much a reflective of Taurus energy, and Mars in the 12th, but in Taurus, does point towards that potential for some kind of meetup, connection, or revival of a connection with someone from your past, Or is it that you're going to find a deeper connection with someone already in your life? That is possible. But if there is any outstanding upset or anger around a relationship, it will need to be cleared. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Gemini. Thank you so much for joining me. Wishing you all the best and see you again.